All right, buddy. All right, welcome back to the rest of the story. The corn planter is going through a little bit of cosmetic surgery. We went through and we changed all of these chains going from the drive shaft back to the row shutoffs. We went through and all these small chains, and the rest of the chains on the planter we hit with WD-40 because that actually was all they really needed. I went through and checked them all, made sure there wasn't any rusting, they weren't catching up on anything, and then if we can get like another year of use out of them, I mean, it's money ahead. But these chains, they are pre-cut. They are what, 90, they actually count by the rivets. We needed 89, and you could only get them as short as a Stella. You could get them as short as 94. So we just had to go through and cut a couple off, and then we actually had to add a half link to get the exact length that we actually needed to make sure that this tensioner had enough room of travel. So about an hour or so, we were able to get that gone through. Yesterday we had Hannah came through, and she was bringing me all these closing wheels. We went through and changed out half the planter, 100% of the planter, but half the planter is one style and the other half is the other. So we got the copper heads on this side, and these are all set in the exact same spot as far as the same orientation as our rubber closing wheels. And what I keep hearing about these is that they are not as aggressive as the metal spike teeth we used to have on that 1750 of my grandpa's. Those actually had a really good habit of pulling the seed right back out of the trench if you weren't careful. So these, we're hearing good things. Little curious as what they'll do, how they'll perform in no-till, because we do have about 50 acres of no-till this year. So we'll find out what those do. And then we went over here. By no particular order, it really didn't matter which side was which, and that's my phone. Oh yeah, for those keeping track, I already cracked my phone. I destroyed it back in December, and and that was just from having it in my pocket. So no amount of screen protection can save you there. We have the Schlegels on this side of the planter. No, we don't have any on the outside too yet. These are demos. We didn't buy these. We haven't made the commitment to do anything yet. These are really just kind of like a loaner for this year. We're borrowing them, demoing them, and we're going to see what we like, which we prefer. Maybe we don't like either of them, but we had an opportunity to at least put them on and see how we like them compared to the rubber closing wheels, which I don't think we're really sold on the rubber closing wheels. But what I did for these, you're supposed to offset them, so that way when you put them in the same holes, there's two different holes here. There's a forward and a back hole for these closing wheels, and we offset these compared to like the copper heads and the standard rubber closing wheels. The reason for that is that it allows them for more clearance with each other, and they are less prone to pick up rocks because, well, we don't have rocks around here, right? Yeah, used, of course, but they are actually used pretty lightly, if you ask me. That on top of the chains, plus there's a switch for the fertilizer we're looking to put on. We just got to figure out how we want to do it. So that will turn on and off the the fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, as we raise and lower it, so we don't forget to turn it off until 20 feet down the row. Whoops, you guys are actually looking at me. And you can definitely tell that where we weren't forgetting to turn the fertilizer on right away, because you'd get going and then be, oh yeah, and you'd turn the switch on, and then you could actually see that throughout the rest of the growing season the corn was a little shorter, a little yellower, not quite as green as the corn that had clearly gotten the fertilizer on it. And we are going through, and we put fertilizer on everything with the corn planter. Definitely shows later in the year, even as far as maturity later in the year, and it helps the corn get out of the ground that much quicker, especially if you get those colder soils or the colder weather, which they are calling for snow again tonight. All right, a little bit of a continuation of that last video, largely because I went home. The planter's over 50% done. Chains are on, and I really just need to hook up to the 46 and run everything, the fertilizer and the air pumps, and make sure the bags are all holding air. But really quick before I get rained out here, I'm down at the valley, which I think most of you at this point know what it is. It's the hay farm that I picked up. It used to be a row crop farm, but as of last year it was seeded down, and I'm perfectly fine with that because I don't have any intention of raising row crops down here. This is going to be a hay farm. And this whole bench here is approximately 8 days after hitting it with the buggy, the fertilizer. You can see I do get a little bit of compaction from my tractor tracks. With the rain that's hitting right now, kind of hoping that'll soften it up just a little bit. It's, what is it? Not quite the middle of April. And we're looking at probably 60 days before I would really get serious about trying to make this place down here. Problem is, I make dry hay. The reason I make dry hay is because wrapping bales and selling wrap bales, you can do it, but you're not going to get your money's worth out of them. The most you really see wrap bales go for around here are like 40 to 60 bucks. Was it a ton or a bale? I guess I don't ever look at them that close because I don't sell wrapped material. But my plan is to make 3 cuttings in a perfect world. 3 cuttings off this place. It's got the bench, that's about 1/3 of the farm, and then it's got the bottom, which is about 2/3 of the place. The bottom is flooded, not completely, just partly, and that's pretty much just because the river is backing up and the camera is, sorry if you guys are getting foggy. It's raining pretty good right now. But the river's backing up, but last I heard it was dropping a little bit. So hopefully that keeps going and the river gets back in its banks. So ideally I can make that bottom at least once, preferably twice, hopefully 3 times. Same thing with the field ground up here. This place is largely why I bought that New Holland rake, and how's that? That New Holland rake and that sprayer. The dry fertilizer is the only dry it's going to get this year. Everything else, preferably after first crop, maybe, and that's a big maybe, after second cut, if I'll go through and I'll hit it again with the liquid fertilizer. Depends on the weather, depends on the year, if I think I can actually get a decent third cut off of it and I'm not just wasting money. But ideally, we'll get plenty of quality dry material off this to feed my cows and potentially sell, because that way I'm diversifying again. I'm not purely, the only crops I'm making aren't just corn and beans, especially with the way the markets are going right now. It is nice to be able to have another crop that you can potentially sell. And I'm watching my cost production. I know what this place can produce, and I'm really confident I can keep my cost production down just as long as I can get the hay made. So there's a little bit of a, there's some stress there as far as worrying whether or not you can actually get your hay made. So it really just depends on what the weather wants to do, and it's raining right now with a chance of 1 to 3 inches of snow. So I don't know if this field's going to turn white again. I really hope not. So as far as the rest of the field work, this field's done. I really don't have any reason to come down here. Yes, I do. I can't say that because I have 2 waterways that I want to disc in because they are washed out a little bit. Not because of me, that was because they were here when I took this place over. But I want to disc them, then I'll come through and I'll drill them in. I'm going to bring the drill out. I'm going to drill this in just to get the grass growing again. They had bales stacked here, you can see, around the building. I'm not really planning on doing that if I can avoid it. I have enough, at the moment, enough inside storage that I shouldn't have to stack anything outside long term. With that hay preservative I'm putting on, I might have to leave it outside for a couple days. I mean, it's kind of a gray area as to whether or not you can just put that hay preservative on your hay and stack it inside right away, or if you need to leave it sit outside spaced apart, like round bales I'm talking about, so the faces can breathe a little bit, and then put them in after 2 or 3 days. It's going to be a learning experience. I hope it's not too terrible. So we're looking at 60 days. That puts us about the middle of June, and hopefully if I could make this place in June, I would, weather permitting. But realistically, July 1st, August sometime, and then maybe, a big maybe, late September. And if I could actually make it how I would like to make it, June 1st, July 15th, August, or September 1st. About 45 days apart approximately. And, you know, make quality hay. So, my fingers are cold. The raining's starting to pick up. The dog is completely covered in mud. You're not riding up front. Yeah, he's riding in the back. So, all right. Thanks everybody for tuning in and watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. For those that do. For the rest of you, what's taking you so long? All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Stay dry. Stay safe. Hopefully things get back to normal here before long. So until next time, I'll talk to you later.